Hey everybody, this is Garrett from Thundercloud Whips. Today I want to talk with you guys about how to cut cans in half with a whip. This is a really cool trick that can be challenging, but if you follow all the steps I'm going to outline for you guys, it's going to be really manageable. We're going to talk about what whip you need to be using, the cracker you need to be using. We're going to talk about the actual whip crack that you're going to be using. And then we're going to break it down in detail and talk about the technique that's going to enable you to do this consistently and easily. There are three main characteristics that are important to think about when you're looking for a whip that's going to be good for can cutting. The first is length, the second is weight, and the third is durability. I always recommend between a 5 and 7 foot whip. As you get longer and longer, whips become harder and harder to be accurate with, and this is a trick that really requires pinpoint accuracy. I also prefer to use whips that are heavy. The heavier the whip, the more force is going to be transferred into the can, and the easier you're going to actually cut the can. Can cutting can be really hard on a whip, so it's important to use a whip that's durable. I like to use whips that are made from ungutted paracord because the extra thickness and layers gives it that added durability that are going to let it stand up to years and years of can cutting. If you're interested in ordering a really good can cutting whip, I actually sell them on my website, thundercloudwhips.com, and that'll be linked in the description. One of the keys to cutting cans in half with a whip is using a cracker that's specifically designed for that purpose. I'm going to show you how to make a can cutting cracker out of this Kevlar thread. All right, in order to make a can cutting cracker, I'm going to cut off a length of Kevlar thread that's the length of my full wingspan. From here, I'm going to take both ends, I'm going to put them together and hold them between my two fingers. And then this gives me a loop on the bottom. From there, I'm going to take a pair of hemostats and attach them right into that loop that we formed on the bottom. I'm going to let those hemostats hang there just like that. From here, I'm going to take the hemostats between my two fingers. I'm going to give it a really solid spin. And I'm going to do that a couple times. Nice, good spin. What I'm trying to do is I'm just going to put a nice tight twist along the full length of this thread. And you'll reach a point where you can start to feel the twist in your top two fingers. And once you feel that, probably go a little bit more. But then that's probably about the right amount. I want a nice, clean twist throughout the whole length of the thread. From here, I have my hemostat end and my open ends, and I'm going to fold it in half one more time. So now I have, again, loop out the bottom. Now I'm going to let these slowly twist together by just slowly releasing them and letting it twist up into itself, just like that. So here we have nice twist, and that'll just stay by itself. From here, I'm going to remove the hemostats. So now I have my nice twisted, and I have my open ends. So to close it off, I'm just going to do a nice overhand knot, make a loop, take the end through the loop, and then pull it tight, just like that. The process that I just showed you is the process you would use to make a cracker for any ordinary whip. What we're going to do next is what's going to make this a can cutting cracker. What we're going to do is we're going to put additional overhand knots spaced probably 1.5 inches to 2 inches apart along the length of this cracker. So I'm just going to go ahead and tighten that up. There we have another knot. Now I'm just going to do another overhand knot, make a loop, push the end through, tighten it 1.5 inches to 2 inches. Now we have 3 knots. And I'm just going to keep doing this along the full length of the cracker. The knots that we've added here make a really big difference in letting you cut cans in half. They give it extra tearing ability and extra mass that's really going to make a difference. All right, now that we have our Kevlar cracker made, it's time to attach it to our whip. So if you order a whip from me, the end of your whip will have this doubled over loop at the end of it. What we're going to do to attach the cracker is I'm going to take a pair of hemostats and push it through, open it up, and then I'm going to pull the end of the cracker through that loop, just like that. And you could do it by hand, but it's a little easier with a pair of hemostats. From here, I'm going to take my hemostats and put them through the loop at the end of the cracker, and I'm going to grab the other end of the cracker and pull it through that loop. That leaves us with the cracker attached to the end of the whip like so. The crack that you're going to need to do to cut a can in half is what's called the sidearm flick, and I'm going to show you how to do that now. To do the sidearm flick, I'm gonna start with the whip directly in front of me. Then I'm gonna do a directly back motion and then a directly side motion. So I'm gonna take it back and to the side. Back, side. Now, when I'm doing the side motion, it's not just swinging my arm. What you need to do is to get this portion of the whip moving faster than this portion of the whip. When I'm doing this side motion, I'm bringing my arm forward and then I'm flicking my wrist. I'm going side, flicking my wrist. And see how that forms this loop in the whip? That's what's gonna actually give you that crack. So what I don't wanna do is just this, where the whole whip kind of moves as one. What I want to do is move, 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 flick the wrist. Move, 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 flick the wrist. Now that all together, I start with the whip in front, strong swing back, and I wait until the whip is directly behind me, extending directly out of my arm, back, and then side with the flicking of the wrist. So I start with the whip in front, strong swing back, wrist flick forward. All right, now that we've picked out our whip, we've made our cracker, and we've learned how to do the sidearm flick, it's time to actually cut a can in half. When you're getting ready to cut a can in half, there are three main things I want you to think about. The first is the distance to the target, the second is exactly where you're aiming, and the third is the importance of shaking the can. In order to find the correct distance from the target, what you want to do is lay the whip out on the ground until the base of the target stand is right lined up with the end of your whip. This is going to put you at the right distance so that you're hitting the can with the middle of the cracker. One of the most important things to think about, and one of the things that I personally struggled the most with when I was learning how to cut a can in half with a whip, is exactly where you want to be aiming. This is a little bit counterintuitive, but you actually don't want to be aiming right for the can. You want to be aiming probably about 12 inches to the left of the can. By aiming to the left of the can, you're actually going to hit the can with the cracker when it has the most force and tearing ability. The final thing to do is to shake the can. This really helps the can to tear itself apart as it explodes. Now, putting it all together, I'm going to put myself the correct distance from the target. I'm going to do a sidearm flick, aiming about 12 inches to the left of the can. And it's going to look something like this. And there you have it, a nice clean cut through a pop can.